Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Triangle BNI. My name is Mike Manning, and each week here we bring you a success story from BNI. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here is called Triangle BNI. If you're not familiar with Central North Carolina, it's a Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill area. Covers, I think we're 4 or 5 counties now, almost 30 chapters, over about 700 members, all doing the job of helping each other grow their small businesses. So if you or someone you know is starting a business or trying to grow a business, we recommend that you come visit Triangle BNI chapter 5 days a week, all over town, different day parts. So you can go on to trianglebni.com, click on find a chapter, see what kind of day or daytime fits your schedule, and you'll meet some good people. Our guest today is Jared Crabtree, Vice President of Business Development for Crabtree Family Moving. Jared, glad to have you here today.
Be here.
And just so everybody knows, Jared's playing a little hurt. Pickup basketball game Friday morning. Somebody was quote unquote making a basketball move, and I think you took a shoulder to the ribs.
Yeah, ironically, I posted something this morning on my LinkedIn about what is your why. I'm still trying to figure out my answer to why I was out there playing. Not feeling too good this morning, so
Yeah.
leaning back a little on that rib.
So if you see Jared around town today, buy him a big old sweet tea or lunch and make him feel better. Maybe after 5 o'clock, you can buy him something a little stronger to deal with the pain. So, but anyways, glad to have you here today. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about your family business. So you've been Jared's a member of RD29 Vis-a-Vis, meets Thursday mornings at 7:30 at Hope Community Church on Buck Jones Road. A lively group, we
Hmm.
might add. I'm in that chapter as well. So
Yeah.
we do have our fun. And Thursday morning at 7:30, you better be entertaining because some people just aren't morning people. So like we talked about, it's early November 2018. Kind of tell us a little bit what's going on with Crabtree Family Moving, how the year has been.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a process to say the least. We started in 2010 when we first starting out. I was running every job. Dad was running every job. Brother was running every job. And the industry in a whole around this time of year pretty much dies down. So as we've grown over the years, that summer season, those hot times of year, which traditionally are between May and around July to August, have then slowly expanded. And now we're staying busy pretty much year round. So we're having, if anything, more trouble scheduling than ever. So good problems to have
Yeah.
this time of year for sure.
And you guys have expanded. I know when your folks started the business,
Hmm.
they've expanded not only the coverage area, but you guys are starting to get focused some more time on commercial moves as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So we over the years have done small scale commercial. For the first couple of years we were in business, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the manpower, the truck space. Now we have that capacity, and that's one of our main focuses for this upcoming year in 2019 is to expand on our commercial side of our business.
I know if you're out there listening and watching, you have a family business, you can appreciate the dynamics of working with family. But Jared's parents did it right. They said you're going to start as a mover, and we will go from there. Correct?
Yeah. So I still my role now, one of the hats I wear is business development. But I would say by trade I'm a mover. That's how I learned this industry. When we were first starting out, like I said, it was just me, dad, and brother. So all I did was move furniture, did the packing, and that's kind of how I've learned throughout the business. Started from the ground up, taking the trash out, sweeping the trucks out, carrying the stuff nobody else wanted to carry, running all the stuff to the attic. So, but it's helped me really appreciate what we do, and that's how we've groomed a lot of our guys up in our businesses, starting them from the ground up, so they appreciate what they're selling. Uh, because we don't want anybody to just be a number on,
Yeah.
on a page by any means. So, yeah,
So when you started, how many movers did you guys
you were pretty much looking at it.
have?
For those of you who do know my dad, he's a talker, politician kind of style. So it was always him dealing with the customer, which is good. He's great at that. And it was kind of, hey, Jared, Jonah, go grab that stuff and bring it out to the truck. So when we first started out, I mean, it was just us. My dad was actually a little background about the how we got into this. I don't know if this is the time for that
Yep.
or not, but we're
Fire
gonna roll
away.
with it.
Yep.
Um, he was in the mortgage industry for about 20 years. And in 2008, 2009, when the housing market kind of went down, as he was closing down his shop, he had a buddy with the truck. And we actually lived in the Bedford community. A lot of people moving in that area. So somebody said, "Hey, do you know anybody that does any moving?" And Cliff was like, "Yeah, of course. I've got a couple sons. I may know a guy or two." And we did a good job. You know, that kind of snowballed from there. We got in with some of those neighborhood groups, the Mommy and Me groups,
Mhm.
with some good realtors. Very fortunate to have some people singing our praises in that area, and that snowballed into our operation now. It's kinda how we got rolling. But again, to start,
Yeah.
every truck, every every piece of furniture, every moving pad, that's what I did, that's what Jonah did, and, now don't do that as much anymore.
So on the website, the description of the starting of the business was to employ the 4 kids.
Yeah,
You are one of 4,
that's right.
and at some point in time, all the siblings have been involved in the business, correct?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So when we were first starting out, and I'll never forget, there was this townhome in Briar Creek, and, um gotta love customers. They said, "Hey," they called Cliff up and they said, "Hey, I've got 5 or 6 pieces. We need you to move." So Jonah and I and my dad, the 3 of us went over there to do the move, and we show up and the townhome is full of everything and said, "Hey, everything's gotta go." So at that time, we didn't really have the resources and the manpower. And if you call anybody up, as everyone knows, and you say, "Hey, I need some help moving," they just hang up on you. They don't even answer the phone.
Yeah.
So, dad called mom and my 2 sisters, and my sisters and mom are out there grabbing dressers and chairs and bags of all kinds of stuff, and we worked till the middle of the night, but, we got fed that day, which was
Good.
good. So, yeah, everybody has been involved in some form and fashion, pretty much some form or fashion through the
Yeah.
entire, process.
How big was that first truck you needed it on that job? Did you need to get a second one?
We could have used a few, I'm sure. Thankfully, at least on that job, we were limited for space, so, yeah, we filled it to capacity and ran it over and then came back and did it
Oh
again, and
god.
long day for sure. Yeah.
And my guess is jobs like that helped you learn the estimating part of the job.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so, hmm, being on the truck and being involved with the customers and knowing how long something took and walking into a home, real quick
Mhm.
if it's just those few pieces or it's always these 3 chairs and maybe that box over there, and, "Hey, you know what? Since you're here, let's grab that TV," and then just yeah, so that being able to do that and go all across the country doing this work and loading thousands upon thousands of trucks, I don't know how many trucks I loaded. It's kind of loaded into a big beating now, but, it definitely helped, transition me into the sales side because you know how much something weighs, you know how long it's gonna
Mhm.
take. It definitely helped me transition into the sales role, and then from here. So that's kinda how we train all our guys that are getting into the sales side as well.
And what's funny is most people don't know, believe it or not, most people don't know how big their house is. They
No,
guess, "Oh, it's like either it's if it's 2,500 square feet, they usually it's on the low end. They'll say it's about 1,900 square feet, or they'll give you that. We don't have a lot of stuff in the house.
every day.
And it just it doesn't matter what they tell you because it's not good to believe them. Not
Right.
that they're trying to do anything wrong, but they see it every day, so they don't understand how much stuff they have till they see everything in the truck. It's like, "Wow, we do have a lot of stuff,
Well,
right?"
think about your house, for instance. You're walking through your home. How many pieces of furniture in your bedroom? You're like, "Oh, it's a bed, a
Yeah,
dresser, a couple
yeah.
nightstands." That's really about it. You forgot about the stuff in the garage and under the
Yeah.
house and in the attic and on the roof, and it's at your neighbor's house and at your daughter's office and all that. So, yeah, it snowballs there very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Sure. We're used to that.
And full disclosure, Jared's, Crabtree Moving has moved me and my wife a few months ago, and they moved my mom a few months ago as well, so I will attest to the quality of work they do. As I told people, my mom was very happy with their work, so if you can make somebody's mother happy with a move, you're doing pretty good. The guys are very professional and everything, so we're a big fan of Crabtree Family Moving. But one of the things, though, that separates you guys from other movers is your warehouse space,
Yeah.
which allows you to work with a lot of different vendors and clients, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we have a 16,000 square foot climate control facility located on site. And like most movers across the country, we have storage vaults. They're large wooden crates. They're 7 feet tall. They're 5 feet wide and they're 7 feet deep. They traditionally hold about 1,000 pounds or a standard room size worth of furniture. So if you walk into a living room, you got a couple end tables, an entertainment center, boxes. Usually will fit into a container. Um, and what we found out really quickly, it's been 5 or 6 years ago. We were loading a truck, we were bringing it back to our storage facility. We were unloading in those storage containers. Then, when the customer was coming back out, we were unloading those things and then putting them back on the truck. And the stuff's being touched several times. Increases your risk of damage, increases
Mhm.
labor cost. And we were just getting gouged by competitors by doing things that way. So, what we started doing was putting our storage containers on the truck directly, loading directly into those containers. And then once they're loaded, they're forklifted off, sealed in the facility. And then when you're ready for your stuff to be delivered, they get forklifted back on, and we offload those there. So it's simulating very similar like the pods process. We're
Yeah.
just touching your stuff twice when it goes in, when it comes out. Significantly reduces your risk of damage and your labor cost. That's been a very big part of our business. We've had customers. We had a customer it's been not too long ago, but she was developing a business in India, and she just said, "Hey, I'm going to leave for a little while." Her stuff's been in storage for years. She's
Mm.
developing, businesses all over the world.
Yeah.
So stuff's in their long term, me in their short term. So yeah, storage has been a big part of our business evolving for sure.
And I know one going back to our BNI chapter, I know one of the things I learned a couple weeks ago when you and I were talking that I really hadn't thought this through is Chris Dowdell,
Yeah.
disaster recovery.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how you can help them
Yeah.
with jobs they're doing.
Yeah. Chris has been a great referral partners for us.
Service
They're
master, I should
service
say,
master,
yes.
sure, Chris
Yep.
Allen service master. So, uh, they've had several occasions over the last year where, customers had a leak and you gotta get that furniture out, stuff that's not gotten wet. And it's a full service. If the floors have to be redone, you've gotta pack everything out. Everything's gotta be wrapped and packaged and stored, for, who knows how long it takes to finish those renovations. So, that's been a big part of our business over the last year is helping out Chris and his crew. Fortunately, unfortunately,
Mhm.
those leaks and things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, if you think about, if water leaks in your home and floors rot, got to get that floor out. Everything's touching that floor's got to come out. All those appliances, the countertops, the cabinets, the works. And Chris is Chris is a tough worker. I've seen him in there on
Oh, yeah.
numerous occasions, sweating his tail off, getting his hands dirty. But yeah, he's been a great referral partner for us. And
Yeah,
a lot of
and
people don't think
yeah.
about the
No.
restoration side of that
It
that
once
business.
you said it, it made sense, but
Yeah,
I never really put the 2 together
yeah.
because where is that wet and burn stuff gonna go?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and, Chris has, with his business, those industrial size fans, so he's able to
Mm.
blow those things off, and a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of times, if those things are wet, we have free space in our facility where we can sit those things out so they can dry. He has those fans that we can use, but a lot of times, you don't think about, what happens to the furniture after you're worried about your
Yeah.
floors or your cabinets and
Yeah.
getting those things replaced. A lot of people don't think about their stuff and what's gonna go on with their stuff during that time.
And I
So,
think a
yeah.
lot of that, works for you guys is most of that stuff is covered insurance
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
storage, so
Yeah, yeah.
that takes a load off the homeowner's mind.
For sure, yeah, we just have to take a little bit more time documenting all those individual pieces, getting that stuff inventoried for the term it's in there, but, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something that before I got into BNI and before I even met with Chris, I didn't even think of
Yeah.
that as a revenue source, or another avenue that we could, help out with.
Yep. So is
Yeah.
that where Austin comes in, the operations manager? Here, you
Um,
get to log all this?
yeah. Oh, I go out and meet these folks and he does the dirty work for me. So yeah, Austin runs our operations and he went to college with me and followed me around. So I guess
Yeah.
fortunate for me that I've got good help, but unfortunate for him sometimes I'm sure that he's gotta deal with the dirty work, the dirty side of
Again,
the business.
Jared, really? Another
I
yes.
yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Funny story, Austin, yeah, so okay, so talk about BNI and your
Yeah.
relationship with BNI. You are relatively new
Yes.
to BNI.
Mhm.
What was the first time you ever heard somebody mention BNI to you?
So, okay. So your group meets, or our group now meets Thursday morning, 7:30. About 6:45 on a Thursday morning, the head man Cliff was like, "Hey, so I'm going to take you to a BNI meeting this morning. We're
Mhm.
going to put you in a BNI." I was like, "I don't know. Man, why am I going? It's
Yeah.
6:45 in the morning. What are you talking about?" So it was the morning before, and that first experience was for me. It was very intimidating. Like I said, I was a mover by trade. I slowly transitioned into the sales, doing the estimatings for our commercial and residential business. And Cliff's like, "Yeah, I'm going to take you to this network meeting. You meet every week, and it's seat specific, and you have to be there and you're going to do your elevator pitch and speak in front of people." Was like, "Well, that sounds intimidating. I don't know.
Mm.
That's not my thing." So I remember sitting there very quietly at the Egg and I
It was
with
at
your
the Egg
chip.
and I,
Yeah, it
yep.
was the Egg and I. I was, you know, face was turning red. It was a tight space, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm
It
supposed to say, what I'm
was,
supposed to do. And all these people in there in shirt and ties, and Mike's in there wearing this right here. No,
yeah.
but no, and it just kind of opened up a whole new, uh, you know, side of my brain that I
Yeah.
didn't know was there, which there's not much there, but, um, it was really eye-opening for sure, and, that group's been, very good for
Yeah.
business and
And
a number
that's
of
the
different reasons.
beauty of, and we've got up here on the screen here, you can go to trianglebni.com. You can call us at 465-1667. Talk to Steve or Mary or Brenda, or send us an email, bni@nissancommunications.com, if you have any questions about BNI. We just really recommend you just go visit a chapter. There's no strings attached to that. You can just go visit once if you want to, just to see what it's like. But the beauty of BNI is givers gain. So we always want to give more referrals than we get. And then like, know, and trust. Once you get to like in any, even if you're not in a networking group, you're only gonna recommend people you know and like and trust, because if you send them to one of your family members and they mess up, man, there's a month worth of phone calls and ragging right
Yep.
there. So if you think into your world, whether you're a small business owner or not, you're only recommending people you trust, that you know are gonna take care of the people you send them to. And that's one of the beautiful things about BNI. As Jared said, it's seat specific. So he's the only mover in there. So between the realtor, disaster recovery, anything like that, they're gonna call Jared to move their stuff, or I know a friend that will move that.
Mhm.
But it is daunting if you're not a public speaker. Even though you stand up and give 30 seconds, and I, to this day, have no idea why people get fearful of standing and talking in front of groups. I love
Yep.
it, but we all have our fears. So, but you learn real quick, though, the value of your sales team just expanded by 20 people.
Yeah. Yeah, I went in, like I said, I'd never done anything like that before. I felt very narrow-minded. So I came in, I was, this is gonna get us a bunch of business. This is great. And then I sat down with, I sat down with you, and then I sat down with Chris Thoreau with State Farm
Mhm,
Insurance. And the more I started going out and networking, it was like it just kind of created those keywords or those trigger words.
mhm,
And it was very easy for me to go into an estimate, a client was like, "Hey, you happen to know anybody that does pest control? I'm having issues at my new house." And I was like, "I've got a guy for you." I just sat down with Mike Manning with the rest of Pest. He'll take care of you, does quarterly maintenance, all that good stuff,
oh,
and
shucks,
and
yeah.
it was just a,
But
it
you're
was
right,
very
yep.
quick. And so from there, it kind of retrained my focus to, what I want to help. You know,
Mhm,
you know, everybody's got a horror story about moving. Want to make sure that I can control that. Or you've got a horror story about a bad painter not
mhm,
showing up or a
yep,
bad contractor. Well, I just sat down with a great painter or a great contractor,
yeah,
and it just kind of opened up a whole new mindset for me. With not only can I grow my business, but I can help people that I've developed
mhm.
relationships with that I now like, know, and trust, help them grow their business, and
Yeah.
that's also very satisfying as well.
And I don't have access to BNI visitor records, but I don't know how many people visit more BNI chapters than you do.
Maybe you. We're up
Uh-huh.
there. Yeah.
But you're at least a couple a week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And all over the triangle.
Yeah.
What started that, and what are the benefits that have come out of that for you?
Believe it or not, you were the person that said, "Hey, man, you got to go out, visit other chapters." And, when I had started BNI, I was still doing a majority of our sales. So from sun up to sundown, I was in appointments and I was trying to plug an occasional one to one, as they call it, in there whenever I could. And, and you said, visit another chapter. I visited another chapter. And, with our clients, it's very quick turnover, very quick. If somebody hears, "Hey, you have a mover," I walked into a meeting, and somebody was moving a couple weeks later. And I naturally, because I just showed up and visited that chapter, I got a referral from it. I visited another chapter on the south side, and the president of that chapter at the time said, "Hey, I've got a friend moving from Pennsylvania. Do you guys do that?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. We can go up there and get them." The $30,000 residential move
Nice.
just from visiting another chapter.
Yep.
So there, very quickly, it was like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe there is some. Maybe Mike's
He's
onto something
smarter
here."
than he
Yeah,
looks.
yeah. How about that? Okay, okay.
So, all right, so let's talk about, moving outside the triangle.
Hmm.
There's some coordination needs to go on, because some cities you will drive to,
Hmm.
but not all of them. And you've also delivered stuff. I know you've been to Texas a couple times.
Yeah, yeah,
So how do, if somebody's calling, moving into the triangle area from out of state, like your friend, the guy you referred to people moving down, how does all that
yeah.
start? And tell us a little bit about the logistics and coordination.
Sure. Like any industry, every customer is different. Everybody's got different needs. We had
Mhm.
a customer, just a prime example, a gentleman that was moving from the coast of North Carolina. He wanted to move back to the Raleigh area. He sent us about 120 Polaroid pictures of all the stuff that was in his house.
Cool.
Not ideal, but that's a great way to say, "Hey, Here's what's in my house. Take a look. That doesn't happen
Interesting.
much,
Huh.
but that's one way that we can kind of gather their information from them. Generally what they'll do is when they put their home on the market, there'll be an MLS listing that gives us access to the photos, what's in
Mhm.
the home. Some customers will generate their own inventories and they can submit that information. So, just from a pricing standpoint, there's a number of different ways that we can get them pricing. What we normally like to do, if we can, is go up and see them. We've
Yeah.
flown up to the Pennsylvania area to see clients just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Because when there's a breakdown in communication in anything, that's where you can have issues. So we want to be very upfront. We want to know exactly what we're dealing with. We want our clients to know exactly what they're dealing with. So everything is seamless and it's smooth. So there's a number of different ways we can gather. We try and be very hands on, and whenever we can, go see the clients that are coming from out of the area. We generally try and do that.
And do you drive your trucks up there?
Yeah, yeah. So we can do that a number of different ways as well. We're it's just us. We're an independent. So we pride ourselves on being very flexible and
Mhm.
giving the customers what they're looking for. So if they want our guys full service to be involved throughout the entire process, I've taken customers personally as far as Eugene, Oregon. We don't rely on a backhaul.
Yeah.
With that, there's sometimes more cost. But what we did in that scenario is we just did daily rentals from Penske Leasing, and we
Okay.
we took the daily rentals all the way up to Eugene,
Yeah.
and we dropped the trucks there, and we flew back. So that's just an example of what we can do. If you have a pod and they're going out of the area, or Old Dominion Freight Line has
Mhm.
been a good resource for us as well, loading those containers for them. And I actually had as you referenced Austin, Texas. We were moving someone
Mhm.
from Trayburn, which is where your buddy Coach K lives out that way.
Thank you.
And we loaded two Old Dominion trailers, and we actually had another client going down to the Austin area at that time. So we took two of our trucks down, and then those trailers got down. I actually flew down and oversaw the unloads of a few of those jobs that we had down in that area. So if you got a question, ask. We try and be very flexible. There's more structure than I'm leading it on to sound like,
Yeah.
uh,
But
but um, but yeah. So
well, because you have to know how much stuff you're picking up, because
ex-
that's the first problem right there,
yeah,
isn't it?
exactly right. Yeah. So that's you know we're trying to make sure that we're on the same page with everybody.
Mhm.
And generally, with our out of town moves, we're just going to give you a flat rate for the service. So whether these three items are going or the two items are going, it's pretty much the same price. Get that truck rolling, out there and back, or however we want to do it. So as long as we're on the same page, if that means putting eyes on it or getting pictures of it or submitting an inventory,
Good.
it's usually the best way to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
All right. We're gonna come back to a story. One of you
Sure.
guys drove up 95 up to New Jersey, I think, dropping some stuff off, but we'll come to that in a
Okay.
minute.
Yeah.
So I forgot to do the official intro. Each week in a BNI meeting, there's a 5 or 10-minute speaker, depending on the length of the size of the group. Okay, and so there's always an introduction. So our speaker today, Jared Crabtree with Crabtree Family Moving, profession they're a mover, a location in Raleigh. Been here since 2010. So your previous types of jobs, non-moving related.
Ooh, non-moving related. So my first actual official job, you ever heard of Paddle Creek? The
Mhm.
kayak and canoe rental place in
Okay.
Raleigh.
Yep.
That was my first job. I was a sophomore, junior in high school, and I was just loading trailers, loading kayaks, unloading kayaks, doing the guided river tours. That was my first job. What else did I do after that? I worked in college. I worked at a shoe store, and it's kind of like
Ooh.
one of these stories that you probably tell your sons.
Ooh.
You went uphill both ways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I rode my bike uphill both ways in
Yeah.
Salisbury, North Carolina, to a shoe store in December. Um, I just had my wisdom teeth taken out, and I was like, "I gotta go to work."
Yeah.
So riding my bike uphill both ways, some of the tedious jobs I've done, those 2 come to mind, and I worked, security, one of my favorite stories to tell. I worked security at NASCAR Motor Speedway, one summer. Me,
In
170
Charlotte?
pounds in Charlotte,
Okay.
yep, 170 pounds working security with a bunch
Mhm.
of
Yeah. Fans.
intoxicated,
Yes. Fans.
fans.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. I
We'll
think
leave it at
yeah.
that,
So,
yeah.
and unlike some other guests on the show, Jared's by far the youngest, so probably not as many jobs or quirky jobs as others, but we'll have him back another time. There'll
Yeah,
be some
sure.
others there. Next part of the member bio sheet is personal information, and you have a fiance.
I do, yeah. Hopefully she sticks around.
Her name
Her
is.
name is Allie,
Thank
yeah,
you.
Allie Adams, yeah.
Okay, and
She's a middle school PE teacher. Mills Park Middle. She's from Philadelphia, where her family lives. She went to Penn State. She's an athlete. Played lacrosse at Penn State. She was a lot better athlete than I was, as you can tell from my rib injuries and that. So yeah, lucky to have her. She straightened me up for
Is
sure.
there a good story how you 2 met?
Uh, we met at a bar. Yeah, that's it. It was one of those nights where I'd worked 6 days on the truck. And Austin, ironically, was like, it was Saturday at 8 o'clock, and I was like, dude, I want to sleep. And he's like, no, you need to come out. You need to come out. I think I went out in sweatpants that night,
Yeah.
and met Allie there, and I explained it a little bit differently than she explains
Yeah.
it, but one of those kind of damsel in distress things. That's at least how I like to remember
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
But yeah, been together for about 4 years now. Getting married in August, so very
Well,
excited.
if that doesn't say true love, the first time I met my future husband, he's wearing sweatpants on a Saturday night at a bar, nothing does.
Yeah,
But
she
and again, I preach to many people, just like BNI, you show up because you never know who's gonna be
never know
there.
who you're gonna
If
meet.
you blow Austin off, dude, you might not be engaged right now
Exactly
or
right.
engaged to the wrong person. So,
Exactly
you
right.
should
Yeah.
thank Austin.
Yeah.
Okay. No kids yet, animals?
Yeah, Hank. I've got a 4-year-old black lab.
Mhm.
Hank. Yep.
Keeper of the house when you're gone, right?
That's exactly right. The head
Okay.
man in charge.
Hobbies and activities of interest?
I'm a golfer. Love golf. Love Tennessee football. The
Mhm.
Rocky Top.
Yep.
After
Even
Saturday.
even at 4 and 5,
Yeah,
yeah.
my goodness. Yeah. Golf, football. I used to like basketball until Friday morning. Um, yeah, avid sports guy. Grew up in the Tennessee area, so any of the Tennessee teams, big fan of those guys.
Okay.
Yep.
Your burning desire is to?
I like to scuba dive.
Okay.
So I would love to dive the Great Barrier Reef. I think out in the New Zealand, Australia area. I would love to do that. I also like to hike. So setting my sights high, I would love to do Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. Those two are my 1-2 for sure.
Are there
Yep.
some other, climbs you should make before you get to Kilimanjaro,
Probably,
probably?
probably a lot.
But
Yeah,
you're not
start at
gonna, are you?
Umstead
Yeah.
Park around the corner and work my way up from there. But yeah,
Well, the shoe store was a good start for you, riding your bike uphill both
it
ways.
was
That
good
was good
training.
exercise.
Yeah, it's good training. Maybe I'll have to go back to Salisbury and
There you
work that
go.
a few more times before that.
There's a bigger hill in Salisbury, right, than the one
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The key to your success?
Um, be the first one in, last one out. For the longest time, that's how I've operated. And anytime I get away from that, I see success fall. So it's just, get up early, start early, and
Yep.
and, and work late. That's
Mhm.
the key to success.
And my favorite question out of all this is something no one knows about you.
It was going to be the shoe store
Well,
for sure.
that's why I'm a good
Something
interviewer because I
I
get to
know
the good
you
stories.
got
There's
me
gotta be
first.
another one.
Ah,
There's a football story, come on. Alright, so we're gonna get into Jared played high school football at
we can do the
Wakefield,
football story. Yeah.
for his dad, and his buddy, Alex Starnes, who's the financial advisor in RD39, meets at the Wake Forest
Hmm.
Coffee Company on Friday mornings. If you know either one and you've not heard the football stories, so you know my favorite story, you can tell everybody, but what I just learned this morning is how you factored into that play in
Yeah. So that's
practice.
something new. Nobody ever knows about me when
Right,
Alex tells the
because Alex
story.
brags about him, yeah.
Yeah, so we were in practice and we were running a crossing route. Alex was on the right side, I was playing on the left, and it was August, so we always had the big water carts out there. They had the metal exterior and then the water pump, and quarterback threw the crossing route and sailed it to Alex. I'm wide open on the left side, and that's what you didn't know. Nobody ever tells that I was open, but every receiver always thinks they're open. But I was open
Yes.
on the left, and the quarterback sailed it. Alex is a absolute go-getter if you don't know him, and he went after the ball. He was 5, 10 yards out of bounds, still running, and absolutely just flipped over that water cart and just smashed it. Big old dent in the side of the water cart. Alex kind of just gets up like a cartoon character and kind of shakes his head a little bit, and then he was good to go. He's definitely got a few screws loose now, maybe because of that. But love that guy. But
Uh,
yeah, nobody ever talks about that. I
no,
was
he's
open. I was open.
I've known Alex for about a year and a half now, I think, and we've talked about this story half a dozen times, and he has never mentioned that you
Come
were
on, man. He had his sights set on something else, though. He
yeah.
wasn't looking over back at me.
Okay.
So
I think I'm gonna see him next week, so I'm gonna mention him, like,
let
is
him
there a
tell let him tell the story
is
and
there a
see what
B
he thinks.
part to this that we don't know about?
We gotta get
So,
the quarterback in here and let him
yeah.
tell this side as well.
So anyways, we're on the subject of football. You, spent some time at Guilford College and at Catawba. You
Mhm.
played football at Catawba.
I did, yeah.
How was that career there in college?
Well, since my ribs are busted up, all I can think right now is, let's see, 2 shoulder surgeries, tore my hamstring, broke my hand a couple times, so spent a lot more time in the training room than I did on the field, but learned a lot of good lessons from football. And the nurse yesterday said, "You've broken how many bones and had how many surgeries? Maybe sports aren't your thing." So maybe moving on to golf from now on. But yeah, did enjoy my time. Met a lot of good people. So nothing but good things to say somehow about my time playing ball in
How good
college.
was the team when you were there?
Unrelated to my playing time, pretty good. My redshirt sophomore year at Catawba had a good team. Went 6-3, 6-4,
Okay.
and then at Guilford, uh, as I stopped playing, they got really good. So I
Hmm.
don't know if that's related
Yeah.
or not, but had a good. Austin was a good player.
Okay. So bigger crowd you played in front of high school or college?
Ooh, so we played at Coastal Carolina my redshirt freshman year, at Catawba, and
Mhm.
we played at Coastal,
Pretty
and
good program. Yeah.
that was a great program at that time. Josh Norman played against Josh Norman, who's now at the
Oh.
Redskins. Um, so yeah, that was the biggest crowd I ever played in front of. Guilford, uh, smaller crowd,
Mhm.
Division III. My high school probably had a few more fans that
Yeah.
generate those things than that. 'Cause, Wakefield was pretty good at the time
Oh, yeah.
when I was in high school. Um, but yeah, played in front of a couple different size
Okay.
crowds for sure.
So did you get offers from other schools before deciding
Um,
on Guilford?
More or less, I actually went to Catawba first,
Okay.
but Guilford College did offer me out. I visited a lot of schools. I went up to the coolest school I think that I visited that showed some interest was William and Mary in
Nice.
Williamsburg, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're a great ball player, but you gotta get your head in the book." Uh, so
Yeah.
I had to get the grades up for that one. But I got to visit a lot of neat schools, and my dad really did a good job of reaching out to schools for me, putting
Mhm.
together my highlight tape and sending those things around. And, he's still ragging me in the same way now.
Yeah, that's what
But
Cliff
yeah,
does, yeah,
that's
so
exactly right. But yeah,
because
had good support from my dad.
it's never the coach's fault, it's always a player, they didn't adapt to the information I gave them, right?
Exactly right.
And he coached you
Enjoyed
all
that.
through high school?
Yeah, he actually did coach me all through high school. I think he started the end of my freshman year
Okay.
coaching, and he coached quarterbacks, and I played quarterback just my junior year. Referenced a lot of shoulder injuries, so I kind of went other ways, went to safety and played some receiver. So he was always a coach, but he tried not to coach me,
Yeah.
which was good. I don't listen to dad too well, like most sons, I'm sure,
I,
as you can attest.
well, I had the same thing with my 2 boys. My oldest one listened a little bit more, the younger one, nah,
Yeah,
just wasn't going there. So,
yeah, yeah.
loads of fun. Alright, so BNI, so now you're in BNI. You've, understood the process. You're vice president of our chapter right now.
Mhm.
So what are things that you've learned on what you can do for a chapter now that you've kind of, not I don't know if anybody ever has it figured out, but now you understand how the process works?
Yeah, sure. So I really, and again, I'm still new to all this stuff. I'm by no means an expert. But where I've had success is inviting visitors.
Mhm,
And I visited, as you mentioned, a lot of other chapters and say, hey, you know what? This is a great group. I've got a guy who does pest control. You said you're looking for that guy.
mhm,
Come meet my guy Mike at RD29. And visitors started coming in. We had a few of those people
mhm.
join our chapter, and then
Yeah,
our chapter grew, and then that just kind of snowballs and other things. So uh, that really has helped our group,
yeah,
in growth. And doing one-on-ones.
yeah.
Doing
Huge.
one-on-ones has been huge, and really now that I've transitioned more, my focus now work-wise is in development. Um, doing the one-on-ones has been very beneficial, building relationships and knowing how to refer someone, like finding your people you can like, know, and
Mhm,
trust.
yeah.
That's been very beneficial. So I'm eager to meet anyone and everyone and learn about other industries. I feel like right now I'm like a sponge in the business world because, like I said, I'm a mover by trade, and I'm really just trying to take in as much as I can as quickly as I can to help not only grow my business but grow my referral partners' businesses as well.
Who turned out to be an unlikely or either a particular person or a particular seat turned out to be a pretty good referral source for you that when you first started out, it's like, "Eh, I didn't see that coming."
I went in and I was like, Cliff's like, you got to meet the realtors, you got to
Yeah.
meet the mortgage owners, got to meet the insurance seats. Those are going to be your referral partners. And I had this guy from a pest control company start sending me all these referrals, and I was like, you never would have thought.
"Mom, you're moving next
That's
week. I got
right.
news for
That's
you. I
right.
called you."
It's come from all kinds of different sources
Mhm.
because with our industry, everybody has a need. Everybody's going to move at some point. So I've gotten
Yeah.
referrals from somebody that worked at Staples Business, financial advisors, um, restoration.
Yeah.
That was something that I, didn't think of
Oh, it's
before that.
true.
So
Yeah.
um, there's been a lot of different. I've gotten referrals from a lot of different sources. So been very uh, lucky to receive that business. But you know, tracking it down
Mm.
and seeing those things up front, things like, getting a partner that's in the wellness industry,
Yeah.
then, never would have thought of those things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. And that's one of the beauties of BNI. Steve Hand, we had on last week, is the executive director of Triangle BNI, and he tells people over and over again, everybody in BNI knows personally 250 people. So if you have a 20-person chapter, that's 5,000 people that in an hour and a half you could, in theory, be exposed to because they sit and listen to you on your 30 or 45-second elevator pitch, and they're thinking, oh, my neighbor, my cousin, my friend, and just it just opens up things for people if you're willing to go do that and join a BNI and realize because you're right, we don't think of movers until we meet a mover and then we hear our neighbor talking about, yeah, we're gonna be moving a little bit. It's like
Mhm.
now I know a guy because you're trained to listen different.
Yeah. Like, I'm trained to listen different right now. All I got out of that was you had me follow Steve Hand on the show. Crash and
Yes.
burn right there.
No, I made him wait 11 weeks to get on the show. He had to earn
Yeah,
his way
yeah,
on too. So, but
yeah.
no, I tell everybody with the show we've been on. I think this is the 12th or 13th show now. We're having a blast. But I tell everybody because I've had a couple of people who I know well, like, dude, I'm not on your show yet. And my answer is simple. We're starting out with the multimillionaires,
Okay.
and then we're going to work our way down to the hundredaires.
Okay,
So
good.
so we started with Andy Critchman, Jed Grunwald. We started with the multimillionaires. We're working our way down the list. So
It's good. I'm right at the bottom.
there's well, you're
That's
the
good.
youngest one on the
That's
show,
good,
so we're
yeah.
gonna go with that too. But you learn though, j anybody is gonna usually somebody's gonna know somebody that's moving.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what seat they have in the chapter, does it?
Yep. No, not at all, and those keywords have been very helpful, providing someone with, "Hey, I'm looking for someone that's, um, needs storage, needing
Yeah.
someone that needs packing, somebody that needs a piano move, the single item, labor." Those are things that creates those trigger words that
Mhm.
when, you visit another chapter and like, "Oh, you know what? I've got a friend that, is looking for a storage unit,
Yeah.
or is looking for, packing services," and it's crazy how quick that takes off.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanna ask you about, that are funny stories you tell in the chapter sometimes are the quirky moves or the one-off things. And one of our most fun member in our chapter is Dan Campbell, Modern Art by Dan, if you'll go look up his website. Wonderful contemporary painting, and he brings in a
Mhm.
painting each week. And he got a job for a client. This canvas was 10 feet long
Mhm.
and a wonderful painting, had Dylan and Michael Jackson as a
American Pie. Yep.
American Pie. Yeah, it's a wonderful painting. I believe it's on his website, so if you like stuff like that, please go to Modern Art by Dan. But he didn't know how to get it there,
Mhm.
did he? So
No.
how'd those conversations start with you guys?
In our industry, we call those head scratchers. So yeah, we're the experts by all means, and we move furniture every day. And then there's always those things that somebody like Dan says, I got this 10-foot painting. It weighs about 60 pounds. It's 6 feet tall. Can you move that for me? And you kind of do one of those. Figure it out. So yeah, Cliff and I were actually overbooked at that time. Cliff and I met Dan at his house. We were actually out of trucks and manpower, but Cliff and I went over. Cliff's my dad; he's the owner, and we loaded up on a truck for him, padded it up nice and neat, and took it into this beautiful new home that was just built off
Oh,
I think the Preston area, and
yeah.
had a perfect spot on the wall for it. But yeah, just it's a head scratcher. That was a head scratcher for sure. Yeah.
And a little different moving washer and dryer versus and I do not know the price on that painting, I didn't ask. I know it has a comma in it,
Yeah,
but I don't know how many numbers are to the left of the comma.
sure.
But the jobs like that, man, you gotta move slow and meticulous, don't you?
Yeah, and it's anybody can move anything,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's taking the time, making sure you know what you're doing. Walking backwards with anything is something that most people don't think about until they're carrying something. So you get eyes in the back of your head with things like that. But we definitely had to take our time with that. Luckily, it was they had like 10-foot doorways, big high ceilings,
Oh,
switchback staircase that had a lot of depth on the landing area, so it made it a lot
yeah,
easier.
okay.
Where you and I probably could have taken care of it,
Mhm.
but it was just definitely one of those head scratchers for sure, and we've moved our fair
Yeah.
share of those.
And I don't know who bought the painting, but alls I could picture is that house must have been nice.
That was one of the nicest houses I've ever been
'Cause
in. 10 years of doing
I
this.
saw the painting, and it wasn't gonna go in anybody's house
No,
I know, so
so you may wanna see if you can get Dan on your list of, the more wealthy after selling that painting for sure.
but I remember going through, listening to you guys talk about trying to get that moved and everything is a good story.
Yep.
My favorite story of yours, and if I mess it up, get me on the right path. There was a window that was bricked up or boarded up, and you had to lift something up to the 2nd floor?
Close.
Okay,
Yeah,
alright.
close.
You
So
know the story though, right?
there's been several of those
Yes.
occasions. We actually had a customer, and this has been 7 or 8 years ago, where we did a walkthrough with the customer. Before when we start the job, we always do a walkthrough with them, say, "Hey, everything goes, that's fine." So our standard practice is to remove all the boxes. So they go on the truck first, then you bring the furniture. Beds are usually last, along with things like rugs, etcetera. So when you unload the truck, it's getting set up in that reverse
Mhm.
order. So we're bringing down everything. We've got a last queen box spring, and we're going down the staircase, and it was a very low ceiling, and it was a switchback
Mhm.
staircase. And we looked at it, and again scratched our heads a little, and we finally came to the realization, like, this is there's no way this is going to go. Some of our best minds in our company were there. And this is not going to go. And we grabbed the customer, and he came up there, and he looked at it, and he scratched his head, and he said, "Oh, you know what we did? We had a renovation done, and we closed in the foyer. So this used to be an open staircase, and now it's a closed-in ceiling because they added a landing play area. So what they had to do was scratch their heads a few more times, and you know what? They popped out the window around the other side of the house, and we had to hoist the box springs, all the box springs in the house down. So when you're closing in and doing those remodels, make sure you think of those little tedious things like that because that's that can happen. So yeah, that was a good one for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Because the look on everybody's face when everybody finally realized this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, and it was funny because the customer's like, "No, you gotta do it the other way. Let me show you." "Yes, sir. Absolutely. You
Mhm.
got it." And he said, "You know what? This wasn't as difficult when it came up. You guys do a renovation, closing the foyer?" "Oh, yeah, we did do that." So, all, all part of the all part of the process for
What
sure,
other
yeah.
kind of one-off pieces have you guys moved?
We had another one. This is one of my other favorite stories to tell. It was like this big 400-pound ancient, oak desk, and, of course, naturally had to go upstairs in an office,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it was a new build home, but the office only had a 30-inch door, and this desk was massive. It was at least 36 inches wide. The height was in excess of that as well, and it can be perceived in our industry that if you don't want to do something that you're lazy. And we did a walkthrough, and we looked at the doorway, and we looked at the desk, and we measured it. It was like, "Ma'am, I don't think that's
Mm.
going to fit, but we'll try for you." And so naturally she said, "If you could give it a try, that would be lovely." So we took it up there, we turned it left, right, up, down, on an angle, and it wasn't going. And so instead of taking it back down like most say, "Yeah, we'll just put it in the garage," she said, "Wait right here, I'll be right back." And her husband came up with a chainsaw, and he sawed the feet off of the desk in the hallway while we were standing there, kind of like that scene in Christmas Vacation with Clark Griswold getting the newel post. Uh, he uh, he kind of did that move, and he said, "All right, it's good to go." Took it in, and that was that. So it was nice that we didn't have to take it back down and take it somewhere else. But I mean, I've never seen somebody pull out a chainsaw in the middle of a job before. To this day, not seen that again. But that's always a fun one to tell because that everybody's mind works differently. So it's kind of
Okay.
funny how they
Yeah.
rationalized getting that
Alright, so in no
so far.
particular order, here's the first 2 questions that come to my mind. One is the look on the wife's face when the husband pulled out the chainsaw, was she even remotely surprised?
She wanted it in that room. So
Good man,
yeah,
okay.
well, we're guys, our brains, let's solve the problem.
Yeah.
He was like, "I can get it in there, no problem. Solve the legs off." So yeah, so
And the second question is, do we think he put the legs back on once he got the desk in there? Not that you cared.
we got everything set up. We left that on the side, and he said, "I'll take care of that." We never heard anything else. So I'm assuming if they've moved since, they probably sold that with the home. But we've seen a couple pieces that have been sawed in half in our time,
Oh,
none of
geez.
which we've recommended or done personally,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we've done the moving for them for sure. So that's another good story I like to tell that
Oh, and when you do your first walkthrough on the house that they're moving into,
one. Mhm.
staircases must just give you just the
Yeah,
chills and the sweats, cold
yeah.
sweats sometimes, right?
Movers and contractors and builders, we don't see eye to eye.
No.
But fortunately, a lot of the newer homes, they're building wider staircases, wider doorways. You go
No.
in some of the older historic homes. They have the 28-inch doors, and it's just kind of like, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's gonna go. We had a customer we moved, been 7 or 8 years ago as well. We took up to Chicago, and they moved out of a 4,000 square foot home in Morrisville, and they bought an 1,800 square foot home in Chicago. The husband was working up in the Chicago area, and his wife said, "I need you to make sure you have a home for the kids and I when we move up there to meet with you, for us to move into." So he was an engineer mind. He said, "Yeah, I'll get it taken care of." Bought a beautiful historical, just I guess it's the Victorian style home. Didn't think that, hey, where's all this stuff going to go? We took 3 truckloads worth of stuff, 3 26-foot box trucks, equivalent to maybe 30,000 pounds worth of furniture and boxes and things, up to this home. And about a truck in, the house was full.
Oh,
Uh, and when we opened the second door to the other truck and she saw how full it was, she left. Uh, and they had 3 kids and she left. So I'm assuming maybe she came back, but it was one of those altercations that we were like, we're gonna go grab a quick lunch.
yeah.
When you guys work this out, we'll head
Yeah.
back. So, so yeah, make sure your wife's always involved in those big decisions like
Yes.
that. So,
And without mentioning names, my other funny story just came to me that you told, and this is recent.
mhm.
Husband and wife having some issues. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
And you were called by one of the parties.
yeah. So not only, by day I'm a mover, by night I'm a marriage counselor now. Uh, so if you're getting a divorce and you guys are separating your things, that's maybe not an ideal lead for me. But yeah, so we had a client. They had a 9,500 square foot home in Cary. We were contracted by one of the parties to get those things out, which we found out later was during the day while the other party was at work. Which you can imagine how. I'll leave it at that with how that went down. But they, I guess, worked it out. And we ended up actually getting contracted by the other party to move the rest of the things back and some other things from the other place. And so yeah,
Yeah.
part-time marriage
Yeah.
counselor, but we
Mhm.
worked through it. We solved the problem and we got everybody taken care of. But it's not always ideal circumstances to say the
And
least.
I believe you met some of the city's finest at the house that day.
Some of the city's finest.
Yes. A couple of police officers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
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 That
Yeah.
was
So,
how we finished the day. Uh, I was actually visiting another BNI chapter, and I got that phone call uh, from one of the parties saying, "Hey, I know your guys are getting ready to be here, but Raleigh Police Department should be gone by then, so you guys should be okay." And I was like, "Mike, I may have to cut out of this meeting a
I
few
think I
minutes
was with
early."
you
You were
that day.
with me. It was at the visitors' day at
I remember that
Rodino's,
now.
so I was kind of sweating during my 30 seconds that day for another reason. So yeah, it's been a process to say the least. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that story's still funny. I love that because yeah, you don't think about it until you hear the story, and then you go, "I can see that." One party's so mad at the other party that, "You've got till 2 o'clock to move my stuff out, and I'm not paying you for it. The other
yeah.
party who's remaining in is gonna
And
pay
then
for
it's
it." So,
who's paying for who, and
yeah.
you know, it's always fun. Those are usually the ones that get delegated to the boss man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Where Cliff
for sure.
earns the money, yeah.
Yeah, it's where he
Yep.
earns the money for sure. Yeah.
Now, you guys, going back to the first day, you said you were, introduced to BNI. You
Mhm.
guys love it so much, you got a couple other people you are looking to put into BNI chapters because it's been so good for the
It's
business.
been great for our business, and like I said, every time I visit somewhere, the referral partners in the BNI community are like, "Hey, we need a mover in here. We would love to have you in here." And we've
Mhm.
met so many great people through the BNI network, and it's helped grow our business. I can't even track the numbers with how many referrals, the external referrals that we've gotten from BNI. So we've got a few individuals that we put on staff recently that we're trying to get them trained up to speed, so they know our product, so they feel comfortable in that community. And one of those gentlemen is Rob, who you
Yeah.
know. Rob was in BNI when he worked with the catering business up north.
Oh, good,
So
okay.
yeah, we're still trying to get him. He's been on staff for about 8 months now, and we're just trying to find a good fit for him that works for his schedule. And once we get that figured out, Rob will be a quick one. And then you've met Matt as well,
Mhm.
who's new to our staff, who's doing some external marketing for our company. He worked for iHeartRadio, New York for a long time. Great customer service skills, young, driven guy,
Yep.
like Matt. Just trying to find a good space for him. And then we've got Kenny in Austin, and who knows what
Mhm.
Cliff does
Yeah.
from time to time. So yeah, we definitely are very have been very bene-
Oh, yeah.
BNI has benefited us very well, and we're definitely a little biased,
So
for sure.
now yeah, because you visited so many chapters, now that you know what you know about how chapters are made up, when you're scouting out chapters to put these guys in, what kind of things do you look for?
The first one, the first few things just is just, the actual location and the date,
Mhm.
because we have to be able to make the date and the location work week in and week out, first off. And then it's looking at generally the chapter size. If it's a larger group, you know, where do we fit in?
Mhm.
What seats are filled in that chapter? It's a little bit more established. The Vis-a-Vis was a great group because it's been around since 2000
But
and
we're 17 years old, yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
It's been around for a long
yeah.
time. It was looking at the BNI rosters, find a chapter in Triangle BNI has
Mhm.
been very beneficial for us. But yeah, making sure the time and date and place work for us is
Yeah,
is most beneficial. What seats are filled in that group is obviously very important as well. And then the size of the group, is important, but it's not
yeah.
it's not top priority.
So now that you have a good 9 or 10 months lead on Rob and Matt,
Mhm.
what advice now can you give them from the first time they walk in, how to get up to speed a little quicker?
Right. It's you know, be open minded, making sure you're networking with the right people. Rob has held every seat in BNI when he was in the catering industry, so
Mhm.
he knows the ropes. He knows how to network with Matt. Just making sure that I'm going with him each time and say, hey,
Yeah.
come meet Mike Manning. And then the visitor hosts are always key with them. Just listen to them, kind of follow and watch with how the meeting operates. And both of those guys have done a great job visiting other chapters, and they've already been to several as already. So
Oh, good.
yeah.
Okay. Once you get the hang of it,
Hmm.
because it can be daunting at the beginning. I always like to ask people on the
Yeah.
show, what were your expectations going into the meeting?
Hmm.
And then once you left your first meeting, you're like, your mind's just blown. Holy cow! And you're
Yeah.
figuring out either scares you to death or you've got like 19 things you could do out of this.
Yeah.
Same thoughts you had?
Yeah. Absolutely. So going in, like I said, very narrow minded. Go meet the realtor. Go meet the realtor. Go meet the realtor. And I don't think I actually sat down with Amy Scher, who's the realtor in our group, but a couple months after,
Mhm,
because I was networking with so many other individuals in the group. I sat down with you, like I said, Chris Thoreau with State
mhm.
Farm Insurance, Matt Kyanis with ADT, and Johnny Powell.
Yeah.
I sat down with a lot of well-connected individuals, and that really started, transitioning my mindset into, just need to sit down and meet the realtor. Because I got referrals from those people just from sitting down, and they knew maybe certain things that I didn't say in my 30 seconds or 60 seconds that we offered.
Yeah.
We moved a large gun safe for Robert DeLasso, that's a
That's right.
property
Yeah.
manager in our chapter.
Yep.
He didn't know that we did that. And then Robert and I had a coffee. We learned more about each other, and it really
Mhm.
made it a lot easier for us to refer business to each other.
Yeah, because that's not something you load up in the back of your truck usually.
It doesn't just go back in the
Yeah.
strap on the back of the Honda.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
But a lot of times with BNI, why the one-to-ones are so important, and that's a one-to-one is basically when Jared and I did ours, we sat down and you kinda go over a little history, kinda like what we're doing today, go over a
Mhm,
little history, who they are, what they do, how they got there, learn a little bit more about them and their business. And a lot of times, in a 30 or 45 seconds, you have that goes by fast, so you can talk about, well, we move people.
mhm.
And then you don't really get to the key stuff like the gun safes and the 10-foot by 6-foot
The
paintings
head scratchers.
until the head scratchers till you get to the one-to-ones and people understand it's like, "Oh," and then every bit as important is stuff we don't do.
Right.
So, what kind of stuff don't or have you guys turned down or not been able to do or not want to do?
Um, that's a I don't get asked that question a lot. We don't come across a lot of things that we can't do. We obviously have limited resources, limited trucks, and the hardest part about a lot of times what we can't do, I guess, as I'm kind of talking through this, is it's the quick turnaround. A lot of times,
Yeah.
depending on the time of year, we'll book out, a couple months in advance, or
Yeah.
at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Summertime, maybe 8 to 10 weeks in advance. So that's usually where we have limited resources. We don't have the manpower, we don't have the truck space to be able to accommodate customers. So that is probably the most difficult part. Um, for us, those are maybe some things we can't do. It's just the
Yeah.
short term turnaround. Um, that's really, all I could think of at the time. So,
So you had referenced earlier on, just talking about people and hiring, and with any business, you're
mhm,
only as good. I don't care what you sell or what you make or whatever.
yeah,
You're only as good as your employees and your people are.
yeah.
Where is there a common thread with people who end up working for you guys and moving? Are they high school, college athletes? Are they, what's is there?
High school, college athletes are great. Our philosophy with hiring either for short term or full term or full time guys is I can't teach character. I
Yeah,
can't teach somebody to be a good person. I can't teach somebody to be good a hard worker. But I can teach somebody to be a mover, and I can teach them to pack.
okay.
I can teach them those things. So anybody that's got a good work ethic that doesn't mind running the ribs up against things from time to time, uh, you know, that really is it. I don't think there's an age constraint or anything like that. If you wanna, hard workers, in any industry,
Mhm.
are a dime a dozen. If you can find a good quality, hardworking individual, male or female, you know, 35 you are maybe?
I was.
30? Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was. Yeah,
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 any age is good as long as they work hard and they'll show up, give me
yeah.
everything they have from sun up to sundown, and just go home and show up the next day. That's all I can ask for. I can teach
Yeah.
them stuff in between the box truck doors.
And I will tell you, folks, if you are getting ready to move, just offer the folks some water during the day a
Yeah.
couple times, just little things like that. Because I didn't want I couldn't move my stuff. I have one of those backs that's not gonna allow me to do that, but nor did I care to move all that stuff. And these guys are hoofing it up and down steps. So buying pizza for lunch, or I mean, I know when your guys came over to move, me and my wife, I mean, we had 8 or 10 bottles of Gatorade there
Great, it's good
because it
stuff.
was middle
Yeah,
of the summertime, and those guys, by 8:30 in the morning, they're sweating to death.
yeah.
And so you gotta be in shape, and I was joking with one of the guys one day, it's like, "You guys can just eat whatever you want during the summer, right?" I mean,
Mhm.
they're wolfing down all kinds of carbs, but
When
they'll sweat it off pretty quick too.
when I was doing it in college, I was playing football, and then running the truck
Oh,
6 days a week
yeah.
is anything and everything you could put in your body. It didn't matter.
Yeah,
Six pack,
yeah.
no problem. As soon as I stopped, getting a little flabby, getting a little, been around a desk too much, I think. So, can't eat the same stuff anymore.
And my guess is football practice was probably easier than moving something in June.
To this day, I would rather go to football practice and do 2 a days than
Yeah.
work on the moving truck.
Oh,
That's tough work. If
yeah.
I could write a book on the mover workout or the mover diet, I would
Mhm.
stand behind it and have a
Oh, yeah.
lot of people that are testaments. We have a couple guys, for instance, that may have started at 240 pounds. Now they weigh a buck 90,
Mhm.
50 pounds on the mover diet.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to move,
Oh,
or
the
on the truck,
summertime,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a good way to get in shape
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, having watched you guys do that.
Yeah.
So we always like to end the show kind of looking forward, and Lane, again, here we are early November of 2018. So what are the goals for this time 2019?
It's a great question. We'd love to continue to grow.
Mhm.
Our plans right now are to add at least 2 to 4 more trucks to our fleet. We're sitting at 12 now. We'd like to be in the 14, 16 range before the moving season starts. That's a 4 month, 5 month goal,
Yeah.
and we'd like to double our staff. Uh, you know, we did, we had a record June last year where we did close to of $250,000 in business, and we probably turned down about the same amount of business because we didn't have the right guys in place. We didn't have enough trucks. We didn't have enough resources. So we're looking to grow, and I don't think we have a ceiling right now. We don't have a limit right now.
Including geography, not
Uh,
just number of moves in this county or
yeah.
2, but
So we've pretty much filled our warehouse to capacity
mm,
for a third time. We've been in several different spaces and we keep overgrowing it. We're about there. And I would think in the next 6 to 12 months, we'll be relocating to somewhere in the RTP area. So we're
mm,
a little bit more centrally located. Um, we have guys sitting to and from in that traffic on 540 every day,
yeah.
which is always difficult. So we like to be more centrally located and we're going to need more space. That's definitely a goal for sure. We're just trying to figure out where that fits in.
Yeah.
So moving customer stuff during the day and then our stuff at night.
There you go.
That's always fun.
Well, we've enjoyed having you on today, Jared, learning more about the moving industry, some great myths about things that we know and don't know on it. But please go to Crabtree Family Moving, check them out. If you got anybody moving, anybody you know that's getting ready to move, please give them a call. I'm a customer of theirs, very happy, as was my mother. So I cannot give you a better recommendation than my mom being happy with it. And please join us next week, Mondays at 11 o'clock for Triangle BNI. Another great story coming your way. about a small business owner using BNI to grow their business. Thanks for watching.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.